Broadcasting live, brother. Welcome back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. on the mighty TPSradio.net, brother. What you gonna do, brother?
And, we're back. You're listening to the Talkin' Boxing with Billy C show. Hey, man, don't forget about our... Don't forget about our post-fight shows. I was doing my Dax impression, speaking so fastly. My words came out quicker than my brain can operate. But don't forget about our post-fight show immediately following the Bam Bam Rios Mike Alvarado event Saturday night. Tuning in right here at BillyCBoxing.com for your opinions, because we're going to open up the line. Now, big fight took place last weekend. Deontay Wilder beat Berman Stavern and won the WBC World Heavyweight title. And everybody you would talk to said that, regardless of which side they picked, said that this fight wasn't going to the final bell, except for one guy. Joining me right now is that one guy, Larry Hazzard. What's up, brother?
Hey, Billy, what's going on? What's going on, man?
I don't know, man. You, can you lend me that crystal ball you have, man? I knew you put new batteries in that thing.
You know how long I've been doing this, Billy? You know, it's a funny thing. With all those years back in the 80s and 90s when Donald Trump was very involved with a lot of the big events coming in Atlantic City, he used to always ease up to me, Larry, who's going to win this fight? And this is no crap, man. Maybe I was off maybe once or twice. I don't even remember which fights they were. But after a while, you kind of get a knack for this, So I haven't done it in a while. I've kind of stayed away from the predicting, but I still feel like I got a little bit,
Well,
this particular fight, the reason, for most of these hyped up events like this, even though I've seen events more hyped than this, but this was a pretty hyped up event. They never live up to the billing. And, I look at both of these fighters. These fighters today, they're not willing to engage like the great ones from the past era. They're protective of their their one-loss records, and they don't have that incentive to really engage like the Leonards and the Haglers and the Hearnses and the Durans and, all of those fighters. So I just don't have a lot of faith in, when two top-notch fighters, when they're matched against one another, especially, depends on who it is, but, this particular fight, I felt very strongly. I said, everybody thinks this is going to be, a slam-bam affair, but it's not going to be. It's going to go to the cards. And I actually thought, now I can say it, I actually thought that everyone, that the odds were, in Wilder's favor. But I was surprised to find out that everybody was really like picking Wilder to win. I thought Stavern was the favorite. I'm sorry, I had to correct that. I thought Stavern was the favorite. That's why I said, and the guy that everybody thinks is gonna win is not gonna win.
Well, Stavern actually was the underdog, and they had like some kind of poll, and it was like 75% of the people felt that Wilder was going to win. I have to admit, I thought Stavern was going to win only because Wilder never did anything like he did in that fight against Stavern. I give him all the credit. He looked good. I think what won him the fight is that he fought a smart fight. He didn't go in there and do anything spectacular. And I really think that Mark Breland deserves to get a lot of the credit, because when push comes to shove, this guy kept his fighter, who was, let's face it, Wilder's a young gun, and sometimes young guns get a little out of control and during a fight, especially on the big stage like it was. And I think Mark Breland deserves to get a lot of credit for not only keeping his kid in, controlled. But he also was reiterating the game plan throughout the fight. He kept reminding him, stay with the jab, stay with the jab. And that's something when you looked over at the other side with Staverne's corner and Don House, who's a well-respected guy, they said nothing. There was no constructive criticism throughout the fight. Even in the last round, you would hope that your trainer would look you in the eye and say, dude, you need a knockout to win this fight. I mean, they didn't even do that. What's your thoughts on the way the two corners operated and on the performance from both fighters?
You're taking the words out of my mouth, because the next thing I was going to say was, wasn't it a thing of beauty watching Mark Breland in the corner, soft-spoken? You didn't hear not one profane statement from him. All he said, keep him in the center of the ring, jab, jab, right hand. And for all of the young amateur fighters, all of the up-and-coming professional fighters, that is the video, that is the tape, the learning tape, the most basic punch in the sport of boxing, the two most basic punches. The heavyweight championship was won with the two most basic punches in the sport of boxing, the jab and the straight right hand. That's all he threw. I don't even know if Wilder threw a left hook. Maybe he threw one or two in the few exchanges that took place. But all of his punches were just jab, right hand, all night long. And I know my favorite guy, Larry Holmes, had to be proud, because I haven't seen a left jab like that since Larry Holmes. That guy, Wilder, was sticking that jab out there all night long. And I think we really found the guy to beat Klitschko, because I've always said that the guy that beat Klitschko, he's just got to have some size to match up to Klitschko, and a good left hand, a good jab, and a straight right cross. Because Klitschko hasn't shown me a whole lot of mechanical skills. He's just a big, strong guy, and everybody else that he's fought, he's overpowered them, and, he hits them and they fall. But he doesn't have a chin himself. He's never been hit that much. And I think we have finally found the guy and the corner with the strategy to beat Klitschko. And I can't wait to see that happen. But Mark Breland deserves a world of credit. He was just as calm, and that's Mark's demeanor,
Right.
And actually, this kid was fighting a lot like Mark, because that's the way Mark fought. And I did a number of Mark Breland's amateur fights. He fought in Jersey a few times, and I mean, he used to throw that right hand and flatten guys, because he had a string of knockouts. And he just kept telling them, nice and calm, jab, jab, keep him in the center of the ring, jab, jab, right hand, jab, jab, right hand. And that's all he did all night. So it was a breath of fresh air to watch this Wilder kid and his corner man, Mark Breland. It was just I got high hopes for the sport of boxing again. Well, it makes me feel real good, man.
Here's the thing. A couple of points. Number one, you're right. He only threw those two punches, except I think he did. I don't know if he really landed them, but Wilder, I recall, throwing a couple of uppercuts. He tried to land the uppercut towards the end of the fight, so he did.
Okay,
he did mix. He mixed in like two. But here's what I saw with the jab, and I was talking about this yesterday with Alex. I noticed two forms of jabs that he used, and again, I totally get and see the difference with Mark Breland and the route that they're taking and the time that is so obvious that they're spending together in the gym, honing these skills of Deontay Wilder. But I noticed two things, and I hope you noticed them and either agree or disagree with me. But here's the thing. Deontay Wilder, up until last week, he basically did two things. He would use his jab. He would a classic 1-2, and he would use his jab pretty much as a measuring device, not so much as a jab to win a fight. He would kind of toss out that jab, and then bam, he would follow it with his right hand. That's all he used to do. If you look back at his 32 wins by 32 knockouts, that's all he did. He never moved. He never had any defense, nothing, right? I noticed him when he was trying in the beginning of the fight. There were times when he was implementing that mentality, that 1-2, I'm going to destroy this guy. But when he was doing what Breland told him and basically control the action with his jab, he was throwing his jab in a way where it totally won him the fight. It totally kept Stavern away from him. It totally did what we view as ring generalship. But what it wasn't doing was it wasn't leaving him in a position to land the right hand. You mentioned Larry Holmes. Larry Holmes had a great jab, but the difference with Larry Holmes is that while he was snapping that jab and while he was controlling the ring and while he was making sure that everything was going the way he wanted, that right hand was there, ready. And if he saw an opening, he was in position to land it and hurt you with it, similar to what Klitschko does. That is the only part of Deontay Wilder's jab game that I think he needs to improve, and I think in time he will. I think that their game plan was to go the distance and control the fight, and I think that's exactly what they did. Did you notice what I'm talking about with the jab?
Well, now that you mention it, yes, and I think it will improve. And that right hand, what a lot of young fighters, as they come and climb, as they climb the ladder, they score a lot of knockouts. Then they kind of they get a sense of overconfidence in that knockout punch. So what he needs to do is that he needs to, not be so dependent upon that, because the knockout punch is a straight right hand. So Mark needs to, employ him to use that jab, use the left hook a little bit more, and not rely so much on just that one shot. I think in time, as he develops, and as he gets out and starts to fight, some of the other guys out there, I think that, you'll see that improvement. But this guy, he is showing that he's the real deal. I mean, I got sold on him in that fight.
Yeah, he looked.
I really think that we got the real deal here now.
Well, he looked good. Let me ask you this, and we're already running out of time because I want to touch on a couple of things. But let's look at Stavern. I look at Stavern, and I'm not buying any excuse. I'm not going to make an excuse or nothing,
yeah.
because he wasn't. Listen, Wilder was the better guy that night. But what I'm going to say is this: I was shocked that Stavern, who technically was a world champion going in there, that he had no answer for the jab that he knew was coming. I mean, he didn't try to sidestep that jab at all. I mean, he just, it was like he didn't know what to do. And combine that with the fact that he apparently doesn't know how to cut the ring off. He let Wilder just control it. Made me wonder, what the hell does he know? He doesn't know how to get under a jab. He doesn't know how to cut the ring off. Aren't those two fundamental things you learn? I mean, I remember learning how to throw a jab and cut the ring off in the very beginning of fighting as an amateur. I mean, it's the first things you learn, right?
Well, his problem, from what I saw with Stavern, is that Stavern kept his hands, he had the earmuffs, but he didn't jab at all. And if he just stuck his game had to be to the body.
Right.
So I don't know what his corner man, who happens to be a pretty decent corner man, something happened that night. But his game against Wilder had to be to the body. So all he had to do was stick the left hand out, because there were times when he was close enough for a body attack and he still didn't throw any punches. So I didn't really see his difficulty in that fight as cutting the ring off, because he had many opportunities. He had many opportunities where he got close. He just didn't throw any punches. Who was better at it than Joe Frazier? And something that a fighter in a fight like this has to realize, even if he's looking at the fight tapes, before he goes in, it's either going to be one strategy or the other. He's either going to try to jab with the taller man and try to outbox him, or he's going to develop a potent body attack where he's just going to use the jab as a diversion to take that big step forward, to back his man up, and then work to the body, bang him to the body. And it's all either stepping forward or stepping to the right or stepping to the left. That's all he had to do. And he had plenty of opportunities to work inside. He just didn't throw any punches. Of course, Joe Frazier he would take 2 or 3 punches just to get close, because he knew he wanted to get in, work a few punches to the body, and get that left hook in there, because he knew what his money punch was. This guy, Wilder, he didn't throw any punches. This guy was walking around the ring like a zombie.
No, you mean Stavern.
Like, what the hell's he doing?
You mean Stavern.
Stavern, I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry.
I know he was, and he just it was sad to see, and the best man on Saturday won. Larry, let me get your thoughts real quick on the fight this weekend. Mike Alvarado against Brandon Rios. It's a third time they're meeting. We hear this crossroad fight definition a lot of times, but this fight seems like it's really a crossroads fight because the winner seems to maybe still have a career and the loser may not. What's your thoughts on the fight?
I think it's a toss-up. Billy. I really do. I think it's a toss-up. It could go either way.
It depends whose night it's going to be, right?
Whose night it is. You know, Brandon Rios, he's had nights when he could be exciting, and then he's had nights when he's very boring.
Yep.
Same thing with the other guy,
Well, it could. I think it's going to be exciting no matter what, because they're both going to be trying to take each other's head off.
It's going to be an exciting fight, and I'm going to deviate away from my usual practice, but I think Rios is going to come out on top on this.
Yeah, I'm favoring Rios myself. And now the question that I want to ask you, a lot of teasing's been going on about the Pacquiao against Mayweather fight and all of this stuff. And, we've heard all of this stuff. I mean, for years we've heard it. I know your thoughts and you know mine. And, everybody's frustrated with this and we don't understand why. But the most recent thing was finally Floyd did an interview the other day. And, he was put on the spot and he finally responded. Because to Floyd's defense, he hasn't really said anything since he said he's got a surprise for everybody. And all the discussion has been coming from his team, from Pacquiao's team, et cetera, et cetera. Well, finally, Floyd said some stuff himself, and he comes out with the main reason why he hasn't fought Pacquiao yet is because of Bob Arum, the same excuse he's used in the past. And he says once Bob Arum's out of the way, he'll fight Pacquiao. My question to you is this. How can we be expected to believe that that's a real reason? And who is he? I mean, we all know that Pacquiao has got a promotional agreement with Bob Arum. And you've said these exact words that fighters, if they want to fight each other, they make it happen regardless. What's your thoughts of him resurrecting an old excuse?
I have very little confidence in that excuse, Billy. As much as I, like Floyd, and personally, I always thought that Floyd would probably win the fight. I cannot buy that excuse. For $100 million, for half that, Bob Arum could bring his whole family into the negotiation. It wouldn't matter a bit to me. So I cannot buy a fighter using the promoter as an excuse when it appears that they're willing to give him all of the concessions.
Exactly.
Everything that he's asked for, they seem to be willing to, okay, you can have that. You can have that. You can have that. So, I mean, does he dislike Bob Arum or hate this Bob Arum that much? The worst enemies. You had for years, you had Don King, you had Lou Duva, you had Bob Arum. Those guys despised each other for years. But they became the best of friends to chop that money up with some of those major fights that they put on together, and then they went right back to being enemies again. You know, like the great Vince Lombardi used to say that, what was that? Fatigue makes cowards of all of us? Well, that kind of money makes friends out of all of us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I just can't buy that excuse. $100 million? They're throwing around $100 million for a fight. What fight do you know that's even worth $100 million? The fight's going to be a big disappointment,
right,
even if it does happen.
Right.
And for $100 million, or even for the $100 or the $125 that everybody's going to have to pay to see it on pay-per-view, it's not even going to be worth that much. But how do you turn that money down? I'm sorry, Floyd. I can't buy that. I can't buy that excuse.
And his nickname is Money, so that doesn't, you know, he better change it.
Yeah,
you know,
come on.
His nickname is Money, and he's
a real oxymoron.
You're right.
Money Mayweather, and you turn it down.
You're right, Money Mayweather. You turn it down $100 million. I mean, come on, man. You know that you can't use that. You know,
that's funny, man.
But listen to this. If you hate this person so much, meaning Floyd hating Bob Arum, what's better than to really stick it to him by knocking his guy out? Right? I mean, you know, like, I have to think that, you know, and then to hear his loyal fans back these kinds of statements up and say, oh, well, you don't know, he tried to ruin Floyd's career and this and that. You know, I mean, that, you know, it's like, you can't give me a good enough reason, you know, except that, hey, if he would come out and just say, listen, I don't want to fight this guy. End of story. I think, even though I wouldn't agree with it, I think I would have to respect it more. But he doesn't even do that.
Well, if he would come out and say, I don't want to fight this guy, and therefore I know that I could never be considered the best ever, or perhaps it's going to tarnish my record as even being one of the greatest fighters, then you can respect it. Okay, he doesn't want to get, he doesn't want to get defeated. He doesn't want to fight him. He doesn't think he can beat him. You respect it. But these excuses, come on, I can't buy it. I cannot buy those type of excuses.
$100 million. My name is Money.
$100 million and your name is Money.
Yeah. No,
I like that one, Billy.
It's not gonna, it just doesn't fly, man. Like you said, it's an oxymoron. But
and you know, the fans, Floyd fans, they are Floyd fans. They're not really boxing fans.
True.
Because real boxing fans, you know, they would say, "Come on, you got to fight, man." Well, I still say real boxing fans want to see the best fight the best.
True.
There's no other way.
You know, and I've always thought that a lot of these guys that and girls that think that claim they're Mayweather fans, if the poor guy ended up losing, I think they would all jump off that bandwagon pretty quick. You know, just like you said, you know, real fans stay with their guy even if he wins or loses. You know, that's a fan. You know, that's somebody that follows it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like me. I'm a Jets fan. I still like him, and you all know the suffering I've been going through for the last 50 years. You know, so
absolutely.
You know, so. But anyway, Larry. Again, congratulations for being the only guy I know to call the Wilder-Stavern fight exactly how it happened. You said it was going to go the distance. Everyone pretty much didn't understand where that came from, and they were all pretty quick to send emails and messages to give you the accolades for hitting that one on the head. I think the exact common word was, Larry nailed that one. So, you got to admit.
I wasn't guessing. I was just using my regular way that I analyze these guys, and that's what I came up with. You know, I saw it no other way. And I think if they even fought a rematch, it would end the same way.
I don't even want to see a rematch. I mean,
I don't. Who wants to see a rematch?
No. Don King does because, you know.
Well, yeah. And you know what makes me laugh, man, is when these guys come out. Oh, you know, I'm not making any excuses. I don't want to take anything. And then they go and they start right in doing that.
Well,
I was dehydrated. Right. Well, what is that? Is that an excuse?
Larry, whenever you hear the sentence, I don't want to make an excuse, and then all of a sudden the three-letter word comes next, but you know damn well the excuse is coming. You know, it's like, come on, man, don't even say it, don't even do it. You know, but
well, you know, I told somebody, I said, well, if this guy makes up an excuse, then Wilder could say, well, you know, if I didn't hurt my left arm, I would have knocked him out with a jab or a hook.
Hey, you know what I say to that? It's a very simple saying. If my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle, right?
That's right. That's right.
So, I mean, can you say it any other way? I mean, come on, man. But anyway, Larry, thanks for joining us, and we'll be looking for you next week, my man.
Okay, Billy.
All right, take care. That's Larry Hazzard, New Jersey State Boxing Commissioner and International Boxing Hall of Famer. And yes, he was one of the only guy I know of that got that going the distance with the Wilder Stavern fight. So, hey, listen, I'm going to